Today, President Trump increased sanctions against Iran. He signed sanctions targeting Iran's supreme leader, which blocked the leader's access to U.S. financial institutions and companies doing business with U.S. banks. Here's the announcement in the White House, followed by Treasury Secretary Mnuchin answering questions about it.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Steve. How are you? Okay, thank you very much. In a few moments, I'll be signing an executive order imposing hard-hitting sanctions on the Supreme Leader of Iran and the Office of the Supreme Leader of Iran and many others. Today's action follows a series of aggressive behaviors by the Iranian regime in recent weeks, including shooting down of U.S. drones. You shot down the drone. I guess everyone saw that one, and many other things. They've done many other things aside from the individual drone. You saw the tankers, and we know of other things that were done also which were not good and not appropriate. The Supreme Leader of Iran is one who ultimately is responsible for the hostile conduct of the regime. He's respected within his country. His office oversees the regime's most brutal instruments, including the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Sanctions imposed through the executive order that I'm about to sign will deny the Supreme Leader and the Supreme Leader's office and those closely affiliated with him and the office access to key financial resources and support. The assets of Ayatollah Khomeini and his office will not be spared from the sanctions. These measures represent a strong and proportionate response to Iran's increasingly provocative actions. We will continue to increase pressure on Tehran until the regime abandons its dangerous activities and its aspirations, including the pursuit of nuclear weapons, increased enrichment of uranium, development of ballistic missiles, engagement in and support for terrorism, fueling of foreign conflicts, and belligerent acts directed against the United States and its allies. The agreement that was signed was a disaster. It was not doing what it was supposed to do. Many bad things were taking place. And most importantly, it was so short-term that within a very short number of years, they would be able to make nuclear weapons, and that's unacceptable. Never can Iran have a nuclear weapon. Also included in this is we want the stoppage immediately of their sponsoring of terrorism. They sponsor terrorism at a level that nobody's ever seen before. And that's been over the last number of years, and they've taken all of that money that was given to them by the past administration, and much of it was given out to terrorist organizations. In fact, I remember when John Kerry was asked a question about whether or not this money will be spent for terror, he actually said yes, or at least he was referring to some of it, but he said yes, it will be used for terror. If you can believe that, we're giving them money, we're saying yes, it can be used for terror. That was not a good answer. But that was the least of it, frankly. So America is a peace-loving nation. We do not seek conflict with Iran or any other country. I look forward to the day when sanctions can be finally lifted and Iran can become a peaceful, prosperous, and productive nation. That can go very quickly. It can be tomorrow. It can also be in years from now. So I look forward to discussing whatever I have to discuss with anybody that wants to speak. In the meantime, who knows what's going to happen? I can only tell you we cannot ever let Iran have a nuclear weapon, and it won't happen. And secondly, and very importantly, we don't want money going out to sponsor terror. They are the #1 sponsor of terror anywhere in the world. So I'll sign this order right now, and I want to thank our military. I want to thank all of the people that have been working with me over the last number of months on this. I think a lot of restraint has been shown by us, a lot of restraint, and that doesn't mean we're going to show it in the future. But I felt that we want to give this a chance, give it a good chance, because I think Iran potentially has a phenomenal future. And I say that about North Korea too. I've said it about North Korea. I think North Korea has a phenomenal future. And I think Iran also has a phenomenal future. And I think a lot of people would like to see them get to work on that great future. So I'll sign this now, and I appreciate you all being here. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, is your goal to negotiate a deal with Iran? Mr. President, is your goal to negotiate?
We would love to be able to negotiate a deal if they want to. If they don't want to, that's fine too. But we would love to be able to, and frankly, they might as well do it soon. But obviously, the people of Iran are great people. You know, I know many of them. I lived in New York, haven't been there very much the last 2.5 years, but I know many Iranians living in New York, and they're fantastic people. I have many friends that are Iranian, and it's just, it's very sad what's happening to that country. The deal should have never been done. It wasn't ratified by Congress, wasn't properly done, as you know, as a treaty. It wasn't properly done. It was incorrectly done. But we'll get it properly done. So we'll see what happens. I hope it's going to be for the good, but the people in Iran are great people, and all of the people I know, so many in New York, these are great people. Okay, anything else?
Sir, just to be clear, is this the U.S. response to the Iranians shooting down the drone?
You could probably, Steve, add that into it, but basically this is something that was going to happen anyway.
Okay.
If they reach the uranium limits on the 27th, will you take additional action?
I won't say what I'll do, but I don't think they should do it.
What is your message for the Supreme Leader, and do you want to meet with him one-on-one?
My only message is this: he has the potential to have a great country, and quickly, very quickly. And I think they should do that rather than going along this very destructive path. Destructive for everybody. Destructive for everybody. We can't let him have a nuclear weapon. He said he doesn't want nuclear weapons. It's a great thing to say. But a lot of things have been said over the years, and it turns out to be not so. But he said very openly and plainly for everyone to hear that he does not want to have nuclear weapons. So if that's the case, we can do something very quickly. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. This way. Thank you, guys. What's your letter? Thanks, everybody. This way, guys.
Just a friendly letter back and forth.
Thanks.
A friendly letter.
Are you setting up another session?
Thank you.
Thanks,
He actually sent me birthday wishes, but it was just a very friendly letter both ways.
All right, thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. Right this way. Thank you, press.
Thanks, guys.
Right this way.
Camera 23 or 23. Mark. There we go. I'm sorry, it was full.
Hello, everybody. So I think, as you know, I just left the Oval Office where President Trump signed a new executive order authorizing even more expanded sanctions against Iran. So now, along with our existing sanctions authorities, we have additional sanctions to go after the Supreme Leader's office and lock up literally billions of dollars more of assets. Along with that action today, we are also announcing specific actions targeting those responsible for recent activities. I think, as you know, previously we have sanctioned Soleimani for his behavior. Along with that, today I am going to announce 3 of his other senior leaders. Tangsiri, who is responsible for the Iranian regime's forces threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz. Haji Day, who is the commander of the Air Force and responsible for downing the U.S. unmanned aircraft in international airspace. as long as Pakpur, who is responsible for IRGC's ground forces. Along with those, we are also designating 5 naval districts leaders: Kolam Shahi, Zirahi, Yolad Badin, Mansour Ravamkar, and Ozam Mai. These sanctions are all very important for recent activities. The President has also instructed me that we will be designating Zarif later this week. So with that, I am happy to take a few questions.
Mr. Secretary, the President indicated last week that he believed that the shoot down of the drone may have been a mistake that was made by local commanders on the ground. Taken together, what you have announced today would seem to indicate that maybe this wasn't a mistake, that it was an intentional act that was known all the way up the chain of command.
No, I wouldn't read anything into that. Again, many of these, the executive order that the President signed was in the works previously. These actions are people who have either made threats or specific things. And again, I don't think you should interpret this anywhere otherwise, other than we are designating people who we believe were responsible for the chain of command, whether they knew it or not.
Secretary Mnuchin, thank you so much for doing this briefing. What is your response to your critics who say these sanctions are more symbolic than substantive, and they won't bring Iran to the negotiating table because Iran has said they're not coming back to the negotiating table after the President ripped up the nuclear deal?
Well, I think the President was very clear. If they want to come back to the negotiating table, he's ready. If not, they won't. For people who say these are just symbolic, that's not the case at all. We've literally locked up tens and tens of billions of dollars. These sanctions will come along with additional entities where people are hiding money. So no, these sanctions are highly effective.
Mr. Secretary,
We've seen the attack on the oil tankers. We've seen the attack on the drone. What makes you think that these sanctions have been effective? What signs are there?
Oh, there's no question. These sanctions have been very effective in cutting off funds going to the IRGC and other people. And I can only presume, I'm not going to presume why they're doing things, but these are highly, highly effective on locking up the Iranian economy. And as the President said, we look forward to a time in releasing sanctions if they're willing to negotiate.
Thank you. When you talk about sanctions on the supreme leader, that is as high as you can go inside of Iran. Can you give us the thinking as to why the administration wanted to bring it up to that level?
I think the President has been clear: maximum pressure on the sanctions. So that is our strategy, and it's not just him. It's the leader's office, which encompasses a whole range of activities.
Mr. Secretary, thank you. Have you done the intelligence research to figure out what assets any of these individuals that you just named actually have in the United States or in the global financial system? That is, do any of these people have money or assets outside of Iran?
So the answer is, whenever we do sanctions, we do intelligence. I can't comment on any of the specific intelligence, but again, I would say we follow the money and it's highly effective.
Do any of these people have assets outside of Iran?
Secretary, thank you. Is a military option or military reprisal still on the table?
I obviously can't comment on that. I'm going to leave that to the President.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Have you consulted with America's allies regarding these sanctions, and is there a buy-in from America's allies? Will they also be imposing sanctions similar to what the U.S. is doing
I have not
today?
consulted on these specific sanctions. The answer is, in general, I've had many conversations with all our allies. I was in Japan 10 days ago, meeting with the finance ministers and discussed our sanctions program. I'll be going to the G20 with the President. Again, this will continue to be a topic of discussion.
Yeah, Mr. Secretary, if that's to me, I'll go ahead.
I gave it to you, it wasn't, but then we'll
thank
get
you.
to it.
You said this is in response to events and the recent events. Is that about the shooting down of the drone or the attack on the 6 tankers, or both?
Again, what I said is, some of these were in the works, some of these are in addition. All of the above.
What's the direct response? What's the direct response? What's the direct response to the drone? Okay, I mean, this is the President came close to military action. Now you're coming back with sanctions. What was direct response to the shoot down of the drone?
Some of them, I'm not going to identify which ones are which. I've said that some of this was in the works, some of this is a result of recent activities.
Secretary, how do these sanctions how do these sanctions relate to President Trump's deal of the century? What's happening coming up in Bahrain?
I look forward. I'm leaving for Bahrain in about an hour, so I look forward to our discussion in Bahrain. We'll be rolling out the economic plan, which will be great opportunities for the people of Palestine. We have a terrific group there of finance ministers, business leaders all around the world. I think we have about 350 people going, so I look forward to it.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, just following up on the earlier question, you talked about the sanctions are effective in terms of inflicting pain on the economy. Is there evidence yet, or will there be evidence, do you think, that it's having an effect on Iran's behavior?
Well, let me first comment that our issue is not with the people of Iran. So I just want to be very clear. We are not looking at creating issues for the people of Iran. Having said that, we have sanctions against bad behavior, and there's no question that locking this money up worked last time, and there's no question locking the money up works now. Thank you very much.